Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, you're welcome to Sew with Mediva. And if you're a returning subscriber or a returning viewer, thank you for sticking to my channel. So in today's video, I'll be showing you guys how I made this Princess Dart long pencil dress with puffy sleeves and slits at the back. So this video is very detailed, very easy to follow and very beginners friendly. And I achieved this style using 4 yards of Ankara fabric. So if this is something you are interested in, make sure to keep watching and make sure you watch till the end so that you don't miss out on any detail. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel and share with your loved ones. So I made use of 4 yards of this African print fabric, and you're also going to need your lining. I have my tape rule, my scissors and my ruler here. So I'm going to draft on the pattern paper first for more clarity and accuracy of measurements. And this dress is in two categories: the upper part, which is from the shoulder to the half length, while the lower part is from the half length to the full length of the dress. So we're going to start with the upper part of this dress. So let's go ahead to do that. So I have my pattern paper here and I've gone ahead to mark my basic vertical measurement. So this paper is not in a fold of two, it's just a single paper. So the first line there is the shoulder line, from which I'll be taking all the vertical measurements. So go ahead to mark your shoulder line. Just mark a straight line, come down by half of an inch and mark a straight line. So from my shoulder to my bust point is 11 inches, from my shoulder to my under bust is 14 inches, and to my half length is 16 inches. So the extra 1 inch is for the joining allowance. So the wideness of my paper is my round bust measurement divided by 4, which is 11 inches, and I added extra 3 inches to it because of the same allowance. So let's go ahead to label the line. This is the shoulder line, the bust point, the under bust and the half length. So the next thing to do is to come over to this shoulder line and mark your shoulder to shoulder measurement divided by 2. So mine is 8 inches. I'm going to mark 8 inches. And then from that 8 inches mark, I'm going to come down by my round armhole measurement divided by 2, which is 9 inches for me, and then I'll connect it this way. So this new line is the chest line. So the next thing is to mark the neckline. So the width of the neckline I worked with is 5 inches and the depth of the neckline is 3 inches. So I'll go ahead to connect them together. So I'll use my ruler to connect the 2 points together to form the neckline. So the next thing is to take the shoulder slope. So come over to this armhole line and come down by 1 inch. And from that 1 inch, connect it to meet the neck width this way. The next thing I want to do is to mark the armhole curve. So get the midpoint of this armhole line. Mine is 4 inches, and then from that 4 inches I'll come in by 0.5 inches, and then on the chest line I'm going to place my round bust measurements divided by 4, which is 11 inches for me, and then I'll connect these 3 points together with my curved ruler. This is how to form the armhole for the front panel. So the next thing to do is to place the darts. So to get your dart line, divide your nipple to nipple measurements by 2. So mine is 4 inches. So I'm going to mark 4 inches on all the lines and connect them together to form a straight line this way, all the way to the bust point. And then I'll come over to this under bust line towards the side of my blouse. I'll take 1.5 inches, and on this other side towards the center front I'll take 0.5 inches. So I'll repeat the same measurements on the half length line and then I'll connect the points together. So if you're on the small side, you can do 1 inch towards the armhole area and 0.5 inches towards the center front. So on the bust line, I'll come down by 0.5 inches, and then I'll use my curved ruler to just connect the 2 points together this way, and also do the same thing for the other side. So we're trying to just make a simple princess dart bust here. So the next thing to do is to mark the armhole dart. So go ahead to measure what you have on that armhole curve. So cover out your tape rule this way and measure it. After measuring, take the midpoint of your measurements. So mine is 5 inches, and then I'll connect the 2 points together again. So I'll use my curved ruler to connect from that mid armhole to the bust point. So just watch how I'm going to do it. So connect the 2 points together this way. So what I'm going to do next is to come over to this armhole point and come down by 0.5 inches, and then I'll use my curved ruler to blend it into this new line this way. So this is what you should have. So the next thing to do is to place the round body measurement. So on the bust line, I'll place my round bust measurement divided by 4 and add 1.5 inches for seam allowance. And then on this half length line, I'll place my round waist measurement divided by 4. I'll add this 2.5 inches for the dart to it, so I have about 12 inches there. I'll mark it, and then I'll connect the points together. I'll connect from the bust all the way down to the half length line. So this is basically all. But before we cut it out, I'm going to extend this the dart leg. I'll extend it out by that same 0.5 inches that I used, and then I'll form a new armhole. This is so that it won't truncate the size of your armhole when you join it together. So we're going to discard the old armhole. So this is what we're going to cut out. So let's go ahead to cut it out. So watch closely how I'm going to cut this pattern out. So this is the new armhole curve that we are using. So this is the first part cut out already, and I'm going to take the other side. So this is what we have after cutting out. So when cutting on the fabric, I'll cut this in a fold, like the fabric will be in a fold to cut the center front, while this side I'm going to cut out 2 pieces. So let's go ahead to work on the back panel. So moving to the back panel, I have gone ahead to mark the basic vertical measurements just like I did with the front. So the back is going to have a zipper allowance of 2 inches, as you can see. So the first line here is the shoulder line and the second is the bust line. Let's go ahead to label it. This is the bust line and this is the half length. So from my shoulder to my bust point is 11 inches and so the half length is 16 inches, just like the front panel. And I added the extra 1 inch at the base for the joining allowance. So for the back panel, make sure to take all the measurements from this zipper line. So the first thing is to place the shoulder to shoulder measurements divided by 2, which I've already done, 8 inches. And then from that 8 inches, I came down by my round armhole divided by 2, which is 9 inches, just like the front. So for the neckline, we're going to use the same neck width, which is 5 inches. The front is also 5 inches and the depth of the back panel neckline is 8 inches because it's a V-shaped neckline, so you can work with whatever style you want for your neckline. So I'll connect the points together and then I'll take the shoulder slope of 1 inch. So this shoulder slope is to help the shoulder area relax very well when you wear it. So then on this line, take the midpoint, which is 4 inches, and on the chest line I'll place the round bust divided by 4, which is 11 inches, and then use my curved ruler to just connect the 2 points together. So this is basically all for the back panel armhole. So it is different from the front panel armhole. So the next thing is to place the darts. So to get the dart line, divide your nipple to nipple by 2 and then mark whatever you got. So mine is 4 inches. I'm going to place it on the bust line and on the half length. So we're going to be using a simple princess dart for this back panel as well. So after connecting, this is what you should have. So I'm going to take 0.5 inches on both sides of the line, that is on the half length line, and then I'll connect it all the way to the bust point this way. So come over to this armhole curve and measure what you have. So I have 10 inches and I'll take the midpoint of 5 inches. So from that 5 inches, I'll use my ruler to just connect it all the way to the bust point this way. So after connecting, this is what we have. So this is basically all for the back dart. So I'll just go ahead to extend the neckline out this way. So I'll be cutting out the upper part. So the next thing I want to do, before we place the body measurement, I'm going to eliminate 1 inch from these 2 inches. From the center back, I'll take 1 inch this way, and then I'll connect it all the way down to where the neckline stops. So this is going to help your back panel sit very well at the back without any zipper bulging. So for the round body measurement, I'll place my round bust measurement divided by 4 plus 1.5 inches for seam allowance, and on the half length I'll place my round waist measurements divided by 4. I'll add 1 inch for that and then 1.5 inches for seam allowance. So I'll go ahead to connect all the points together this way. So this is what we have. The next thing is to cut it out. So let's go ahead to cut out the back. So before opening up this dart area, there's something I normally do when I'm making a dress. So at the center back, I'll come up by 1 inch. So by doing this, you're going to eliminate any kind of zipper bulge that might arise at that center back. So then I'll blend that 1 inch into the side. Just use your ruler and slant it into the side this way. Slant it. So you're going to cut out that part. So let's go ahead to let's continue with the cutting. So cut it out this way and then open up the dart area. So after opening up, this is what we have. So when I'm cutting on my fabric, I'm going to cut out 2 pieces of the center back. So when you join it, it's going to look that way. So I'll cut out 2 pieces of this center back. So let me go ahead to label it. Cut out 2 and I'll cut out 2 pieces of these sides as well. And then for the front, like I said earlier, I'm going to fold my fabric to cut out the center fronts. I'll fold my fabric and I'll cut out 2 pieces of the sides. So I'll use these patterns now to cut on my fabric and I'll show you guys what it looks like. So I've used the patterns we just drafted out to cut out my fabric and this is what we have. So I added 0.5 inches all around this dart area, the armhole area, because I'll be turning over with my lining. And for the neckline, I also added 0.5 inches because we're going to turn it over with the lining and I don't want to reduce the size of my neckline. You can as well add it to your pattern before you cut out if you don't want to go through this. I added to the shoulder as well and all the dart area for the joining. So for the back panels, I did the same thing. I added 0.5 inches to the neckline area, the shoulder areas and the dart areas. Added all around it as you can see, and then for the sides I also added 0.5 inches to the dart area and the armhole area. So I'm going to set this aside now while we work on the lower part of our dress. So just like I explained earlier, to cut the center front, you're going to cut it in a fold of 2. You can see the fabric is in a fold of 2, and the sides I have 2 pieces. For the back I have 2 pieces each, as you can see. So I'm also going to use this pattern to cut out my lining for each of these pieces. I'll cut out lining and show you. So I'm moving to the lower part of this dress now, and the length of this lower part is 43 inches. So the full length of this dress is 59 inches, and from the shoulder to the half length we've already made use of 16 inches. So the remaining 43 inches is going to be for the lower part. So I have the full length of my Ankara here of 45 inches, but I'm going to mark from the waist to the 43 inches, which I want as the actual length of the lower part. So the remaining 2 inches is going to be for the folding allowance at the base. I hope you guys understand. So my dress is going to stop at the point where I marked. So we're going to cut both the front and the back panels together, and I'll start by drawing out a line at the upper part. So the front panel is in a fold of 2, while the back panel is also in a fold of 2. So to fold your fabric, divide your round hip by 4. Mine is 11.5 inches and I added about 2 extra inches to it for the seam allowance. So this is what we have. So the back panel is 3 inches bigger than the front towards the center back for the zipper allowance and the butt allowance. I hope you guys understand. So let's go ahead to place the vertical measurements now. So from this line is going to be the waistline where we will join to the upper bodies. So my hip line is 10.5 inches. From my high waist to my hip is 10.5 inches. And then from my high waist to my knee line is 24 inches. You're going to need your knee line so that you can get that tapered look for your dress. So after marking that, I'm going to come over to this waistline and place my round waist measurements divided by 4. Mine is 9.5 inches. I'll add 1 inch for that and 1.5 inches for seam allowance. So I'll add the 1.5 inches now for seam allowance. And then on the hip line, I'll place my round hip measurement divided by 4. I'll add 1.5 inches for seam allowance as well. So note that you are taking all these measurements on the front panel alone, just before the zipper allowance. So for the knee measurements, I'm going to measure what I have on the hip line. I have 11.5 inches minus the seam allowance. So I'm going to subtract 2 inches from that 11.5 inches. So I'm going to use 9.5 inches on this knee line to get that tapered look. And then I will still add the seam allowance of 1.5 inches to it. I hope you guys understand. So this is what we have. So the next thing is to connect these points together from the knee to the hip line and from the hip line all the way to the waistline. So after doing that, I'm going to extend this measurement from the knee all the way to the full length of the dress, straight down. So I'm going to measure what I have there, and then I'm going to mark it on the full length of my dress. I'll mark it and then I'll connect it straight down this way. This is going to give your dress that tapered look at the lower part. So this is what we have. So the next thing is to mark the dart. So I'll come over to the waistline. From the center front, I'll come in by 4.5 inches, which is my nipple to nipple measurements divided by 2 plus half an inch for joining. And from that 4 inches, I'll come down by 6 inches and then I'll connect the points together. So on the line, I'll take 0.5 inches on both sides and then connect it down this way to form my dart. So after doing that, the next thing is to mark the butt allowance and the zipper allowance. So the next thing is to mark the butt allocation. So I'll come over to this hip line and come out by 1 inch. So from that 1 inch, I'm going to blend it into the waistline, forming a slant. Just watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to just blend it into the waistline this way, and then from the hip line again, I'll come down by 8 inches, and then I'll blend from that 1 inch into that 8 inches mark this way. So this is going to be the butt allocation. So after that, we'll go ahead to mark the zipper allowance. So I used 2 inches for the upper part, so I'm going to use 2 inches for this lower part as well. So I'm going to then take 2 inches from the waistline all the way down, mark 2 inches all the way down. This is going to be now the zipper allowance. I'm going to just take it all the way down to the full length of my dress. So after marking it out, the next thing we want to do is to cut it out. So let's go ahead to do that. So let's go ahead to cut it out. So I'll start with the side and just take it all the way down. So after cutting out, this is what we have. But before we separate it, I'll go ahead to notch out the dart points on both the front and the back panel, so that when I'm sewing, I'll know where my dart intake is. So this is all for the lower part. And also I'll go ahead to notch my zipper allowance area. I'll notch it so that I won't get confused when I separate it. And then also the lower part, the part where I'm going to have that fold, I'll go ahead to notch it out on the sides. Just notch out that part so that when you are folding, you will know where the fold is. So let's go ahead to separate it. So I'm going to cut out the lining now, but the lining is going to stop on this line. So let's work on the sleeve before we start joining. So I'm gonna head to cut out lining pieces for the lower part, and just like I said, the length of the lining stops directly on the full length of the dress. So I'm going to use the remaining part of the fabric to fold the lower part. I'm going to explain that during the sewing tutorial. I did the same thing for the back as well, and for the upper part I've also cut out lining pieces for them. So let's go ahead to cut out the sleeve. So I have my fabrics here that I'll be using for my sleeves, and I'm cutting the two sleeves together. They are both in a fold of 2. So to get the amount of fabric to fold, you're going to divide your round armhole measurement by 2. So mine is 9 inches plus 1 inch for seam allowance, making 10. So I added 7 extra inches to that 10 inches to make 17 inches because of the puffy effect. So I have 17 inches on fold. That means if you open it up, you have 34 inches wide fabric for the two sleeves. So they are both 34 inches in a fold of 2. And for the length of my sleeve, I want it to be 15 inches, but I have 17 inches here because of the folding allowance at the base for elastic. So I'm going to first of all measure out that extra 7 inches I added to my sleeve measurement and just roll it out this way. So what I have here now is 10 inches, which is my round sleeve divided by 2 and 1 inch for seam allowance. So I'm going to work with this remaining space. So I'm going to come down by my cap's height, which is 4 inches. So to get your cap's height, divide your round bust by 12 and add half an inch. So I'll just go ahead to curve it out this way for my basic sleeve. So this is what I have after curving. This is basically all. There's no shaping because the lower part is going to have elastic. So let's go ahead to cut it out. So this is basically all for the sleeve. Before you separate it, go ahead to notch the center point, the crown. Very important. So this is what we have. So this is the end of the first part of this tutorial. So in my next video, I'm going to show you guys how to join the pieces of fabrics together to make this beautiful dress. So if you've watched this video to this part, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, and also put on your notification bell so that when I post the concluding part, you'll be notified. And when I post the concluding part, I'll leave the link in the description box, and I'll also leave it pinned in the comment section. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.